Hey, if you're new to my channel, then consider liking and subscribing. It would really mean a lot to me, and honestly, it'd make my day. If you already did, thank you so much. Oh, and by the way, if you like listening to fanfiction, check out my other channel. The link's in the description.
A Crew for a King by Fallen Angel Codester. To become king of the pirates, you need a crew, and in order to reach his dream, Luffy will need all the help he can get. Extended crew story, slightly more serious Luffy. Adios.
The battle between the natives of Alabasta and Baroque works ended in a total victory for Alabasta. Once it became apparent that the number agents and Crocodile had all fallen, many of the other agents fled or fell in battle. Any left were arrested by the arriving Marines, led by Captain Smoker. Soon enough, Alubarna returned to its peaceful state, and any residents that had fled were allowed to return. "If you keep pouting, your face will get stuck like that," Tashigi, Smoker said as they watched prisoners be loaded onto the ships in the harbor of Nanohana. Tashigi let out a dissatisfied sound. "It just doesn't sit right with me," she said, "that Crocodile was doing this. Because he was a warlord, right?" Tashigi nodded, and Smoker adjusted his cigars in his mouth. "A pirate is always a pirate." His clemency got to his head. "A pirate is a pirate," Tashigi mused quietly. "Ironic, considering our allies for this fight were pirates." Smoker made a face at this and turned in the direction of Alubarna. "There are always exceptions to the rule," he said. "Just so happens Crocodile isn't." "Smoker, sir," he turned to face the ship as an officer called for him. "What?" he demanded. "The brass is calling for you, better come and answer." Far from Nanohana, in the capital city of Alubarna, rebuilding efforts were in full swing. The former rebels and the soldiers were working together to restore order and build the city back bigger and better, helped along by the fact that it was raining. Real, genuine rain roared from the skies and fell all over the city. Vivi watched from the balcony of the castle, a smile on her face. She'd really done it. Through everything that had happened, she'd managed to find her way home and save it from destruction. She'd stopped the rebels, she'd saved her home and father. And to top it all off, it was raining. And it was all thanks to the Straw Hats. Vivi had no idea what she would have done without them. Had they not rolled into Whiskey Peak that day, what would she have done? How could she have escaped and saved her home? She reflected on this and came to the conclusion it wasn't her who had saved her Alabasta. Sure, she'd helped Usopp defuse the bomb planted by Crocodile, but she'd not fought any of the numbers agents. Or Crocodile himself. That was the Straw Hats. They'd had more help than that, too. "Princess Vivi," a voice said. Vivi turned to see a soldier saluting her. "Yes?" she asked curiously. "Some Marines down below are asking questions about Ms. All Sunday. They say they can't locate her." Vivi frowned. "Are they trying to search the castle?" she asked in alarm, the man shaking his head. "No, but they are asking for assistance from us," she said. Vivi made a face at this, pondering her options. "Tell them All Sunday fled the battle when she realized Crocodile was going to lose," she said. "Tell them I saw her running but couldn't stop her. They won't question me." The soldier nodded, but looked uncomfortable. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Oh, well." The soldier stuttered. "Are you sure she can be trusted, princess? She was an enemy, after all." "We'd all be dead without her help," Vivi replied. "I won't see her turned over to the Marines. Not on Alabastan ground." The soldier nodded, saluted, and ran off to relay her message. Waiting for him to leave, she quickly made for a room within the palace. Reaching it swiftly, she was granted entry by the royal guards, who had been placed there by her father. Walking inside, Vivi saw the woman in question sitting up in her bed, staring out the window. "Ms. All Sunday," she greeted. "You can just call me Robin, princess," the woman said, turning to look at her. "I no longer have need for a code name." After the battle, Vivi became aware of just how important Ms. All Sunday had been to their victory. Not only had she saved Luffy's Rainbase team, but she'd given Nijiko the location and strategies to beat the number agents. "I apologize," she said. "How are your wounds?" "Healing," Robin replied as she rubbed her midsection where Crocodile had stabbed her. "The poison hasn't damaged me permanently either." "I see," Vivi said as she walked further into the room to stand at the woman's bedside. "I hear you saved my father." "After I held him captive, sure," Robin replied as she turned to look at her. I held Crocodile down and told him to run. You have my thanks for that. I do not deserve thanks for such a small action, she replied. I still helped Crocodile nearly take this nation down. Had the Straw Hats not show up, he would have. I'd be dead though, so I suppose there's a silver lining. Vivi remembered hearing that as well. My father said you saw the information Crocodile wanted, she said, but didn't give it to him. Why? I never planned on it, Robin said. I was using him, same way he was using me. I knew I'd probably die when the time came, but I had to. Vivi nodded, clenching her fists. You still killed Igaram, though, she said in a low voice. And you did help facilitate this crisis. I can't forgive you for that. Igaram lives, Robin said casually. What? Vivi asked weakly, eyes wide. Robin turned to look at her with a soft smile. I threw him from his ship before my bomb went off, she said. He lived the ordeal, and washed back up on Whiskey Peak afterwards. He'll be on his way here by now. Vivi didn't know what to say. This whole time, she believed Robin had killed her closest advisor and friend. Now she was saying he was alive? Thank you, she said. Robin simply nodded, not saying any more. The pair was quiet as Vivi collected herself, taking a deep breath. What will you do now? She asked curiously. The Marines are still looking for you. I'll find my way, Robin replied, making Vivi raise an eyebrow. I haven't made it this far not having backup plans. I see, Vivi replied simply. And what about you, Princess? Robin asked. What will you do now? Help rebuild your country? She wondered that as well. Among other things, Vivi replied. A princess's work is never done. Robin just hummed along, turning her head back to the window. I'll leave you be. Don't hesitate to ask for anything. I won't, thank you. Vivi turned and left Robin on her own, closing the door quietly and proceeding down the hall. She only walked a little way before coming across a different door, one that sounded rowdier than Robin's. Upon opening it, she was greeted by quite the sight. 345, 346, 347. As she entered the infirmary, Vivi was greeted by the sight of Yosaku, bandaged all over, doing push-ups as Johnny and Marianne sat on his back. Chopper was watching them worriedly, and she could already tell he'd tried to get them to stop. Ah, big sis Vivi, Johnny greeted, waving at her. Johnny had somehow found a new pair of sunglasses, a pair of aviators. Where he'd found a new pair, she didn't know. Marianne was absent-mindedly painting a portrait, but also waved at her. Further in the room was Nami sitting by Najiko's bedside, who was bandaged up thoroughly as well. Luffy was arguing with Usopp over something, while Zoro and Sanji were absent. How is everyone feeling? She asked as she closed the door behind her. Good, Yosaku said as he stopped his push-ups momentarily. Big sis Najiko is still healing. I'm fine, Najiko replied from the bed, bandages over one of her eyes. I just need some sleep, which is impossible to get with you buffoons around. Vivi, Luffy shouted from his spot with Usopp, we're having that feast, right? We'd better be having a feast. Of course, Luffy, Vivi replied. The chefs are hard at work as we speak. Good. That's good. This seemed to soothe Luffy's irritation, but not Usopp's. This fool is going to drain your food stores dry, he said, jabbing at Luffy's eye. The captain seemed unaffected. Don't overdo it. Overdo it, Luffy insisted, making her giggle. Where's Zoro? She asked, noting the swordsman's absence. He's training in the garden, Johnny said, and so, Yosaku and I must train as well. We can't let far ahead. Stop training. Chopper shouted in annoyance. You're all still hurt. Then you'll just patch us up, little bro, Yosaku replied. This made Chopper blush, but he still looked annoyed with them. And Sanji? She asked curiously. With the chefs learning some recipes, Nami answered. He seemed annoyed to learn that Igaram's wife wasn't what he expected. She could only imagine what that meant, and Vivi couldn't help but giggle again. It was all so ridiculous. The door behind her opened, and she turned to see Zoro walking in with his swords in hand. Oh, hey Vivi, he greeted, placing a hand on her shoulder and patting her before walking past. The greeting was small, but it made her feel like one of them. Zoro, one of your wounds opened, Chopper shouted as he ran to the first mate. Let me see that. It's fine, Zoro replied. It is not, it's on your stomach. Sit down. Exasperated but understanding. Zoro sat down on the nearest bed and let Chopper inspect his wound. "You're all insane," the reindeer muttered. "Almost dying and then walking around and training." "Well, we had to get stronger," Zoro replied simply. "We can't just stay idle. Some of us almost died." "I'm fine," Nijiko insisted, Nami nodding to agree with Zoro. "That reminds me of something," Luffy said suddenly, garnering their attention. "Crocodile was talking trash during our fight, and he mentioned how it was sad we didn't have something." "Ha? Who? Haki?" "Hockey," Nami corrected him. "He said hockey." "What is hockey?" Johnny asked as Yosaku continued counting and doing push-ups. "No idea," Zoro replied, "but it must be important. Did Crocodile do anything particularly special?" "Not really," Luffy answered with his hands behind his head, "at least not that I noticed." "So he talked a lot of shit but didn't do it himself," Nijiko noted. Ironic. This made the crew laugh at the former warlord's expense. "Maybe we should research whatever that is," Nami suggested. "It might be helpful." "After we eat," Luffy told her. "I don't read well on an empty stomach." "You read?" Zoro asked. This earned another round of laughter. Before anyone could say more, the door was opened again, and Sanji revealed himself. "Food's ready," he told them. "You guys are going to be blown away by this." And so they were. As Vivi entered the mess hall with the crew, she noted that it had been stacked to the brim with food. Sanji had clearly warned them of Luffy's arrival. And just like that, the captain became a calamity, jumping to the table and shoving as much food as he possibly could into his mouth. They all followed in earnest, trying desperately to take enough for themselves before Luffy took it all. Drinks were served, and before long everyone had more than their fair share of liquor in their system. "Where the hell is Sunday?" Luffy demanded. "She should be drinking with the rest of us. No food, though. That's for me." "I imagine she wants time to herself," Nami replied. "Away from all this damn noise." "I do too," Nijiko muttered. "I'm working these morons to the bone once we leave." "Little bro Chopper, pass me the mutton," Yosaku shouted. "Are you really asking the animal to pass you meat?" Chopper asked. "Since when do you have a problem with that?" Yosaku asked. "At least you aren't our backup food plan anymore." "That's undecided," Luffy called. "Huh?" Chopper demanded, making everyone laugh. "We may need to consider that, seeing as we don't have Karoo for that anymore," Nijiko joked. "Do you think he tastes like chicken?" Nami asked her sister, making everyone laugh again. "Take your glasses off, Johnny," Sanji shouted. "We're at the table." "Never," Johnny said. "I don't take them off, it's bad etiquette." "Luffy's drooling all over the table though, that isn't?" "Luffy, no one wants to swim in your digestive system, stop drooling." The captain called with a full mouth. As Vivi ate and drank, she noticed that Marianne was missing from the table. Looking around, she spotted the short painter a short distance away from the table. A canvas propped up in front of her. Getting up, she walked over to see what she was doing. "What are you doing?" she asked curiously. Marianne looked embarrassed that she'd been caught. "I like to paint memories that are important to me. So I figured I would, you know." Marianne gestured to the canvas, so Vivi moved to look at it. What she saw took her breath away. The painting was a horizontal shot of the dining table, and everyone present was depicted there. Marianne had gone into painstaking detail on them, capturing their likeness perfectly. Vivi saw her own face depicted in a joyous laugh. She saw Luffy's gluttonous attitude toned down. She saw Nami and Nijiko clinking their glasses together, and more. Towards the other end of the table, she saw Pell, Chaka and her father, all depicted perfectly as well. The background was a bit empty, but she'd clearly started on that. "It's beautiful, Mari," she said, making the painter shy away. "Sorry, do you prefer your full name?" "I don't care," she excused quietly, making Vivi smile. "It's really good," she said, "but don't you want to be in your own painting? It wouldn't be complete without you." "I can't be in it and paint at the same time," she replied. Vivi tapped her foot on the floor as she thought. Well, how about I pull up a chair next to me and you can paint yourself there if you want?" The painter didn't reply right away, seemingly thinking it over. Deciding she wasn't going to wait for an answer, Vivi walked back to the table and grabbed an empty chair, pulling it up next to her. She winked at Marianne, who averted her eyes. She hoped the painter didn't exclude herself. That wouldn't be fair. "Oi, Vivi," she heard Luffy call. Turning to look, she saw everyone looking at her. "What is it?" she asked curiously. The captain chuckled. "A toast," he shouted, "to the heroic princess of Alabasta." Everyone raised their glasses and cheered, making her blush. She abashedly raised her own mug, cheering herself. "If anyone deserves a toast, it's you guys," she muttered quietly. "I barely did anything." "Well, we wouldn't have even been here if not for you," Nejiko told her, "so it's all because of you." Cheers. They cheered again, making Vivi even more embarrassed. "One more for you guys then," she said. "It's only fair." The crew exchanged shrugs, before lifting their mugs once again. And off to the side, the portrait was completed. After a massive dinner the likes of which Vivi had never seen before, she led the other female members of the Straw Hats to the bath. She assured them it was separated by gender, to which Nejiko assured her Sanji could find a way. Once they were stripped and inside, they all sat down in the water and relaxed. The steam incredibly relaxing, allowing the years of pent-up stress to leave Vivi's body in waves. I feel like I'll never get the sand off," Nami said as she rubbed at her arm. "It'll be stuck in your clothes too," Vivi warned. "Be sure to clean it thoroughly." "You okay over there, Mari?" Nejiko called to the painter, who was sitting farther away from them. "Drowning or something?" "I'm fine," Marianne replied. "Just relaxing." "You can sit closer if you want," Nami told her. "We don't bite." Marianne just sank deeper into the water, up to her nose. "Yosaku told me all about how you helped him defeat those agents," Nejiko said. "I'm impressed at how hard you fought." "He did more than I did," Marianne excused quickly. "Don't downplay your support," Vivi said. "It takes everyone to win a fight." "Like how Luffy would have died without me," Nami said. "You helped a lot. Be proud of it." Marianne didn't say more, so the girls didn't push her. After relaxing in the bath, the four went off to the side and washed each other's backs, Vivi helping Nami and Nejiko helping Marianne. As they did so, Vivi heard a suspicious giggle. She ignored it at first, but soon enough she realized something was happening. Turning to look over her shoulder, Vivi lowered the bath. And her eyes widened. Various sets of eyes were watching them over the split in the bath, watching closely. "Hey," she shouted, hands flying to shield herself. "Stop watching us, you pervs." Marianne covered herself as well, whereas the sisters just looked annoyed. "You guys are earning a whole day of deck duty for every second you watch us," Nejiko shouted. This caused many eyes to disappear back over the wall, but some did not. Namely, Luffy's and Sanji's. Nami handled them by flashing them. The captain and the cook flew back over the wall in surprise, raucous laughter coming from over the wall. "Now you owe me your life and a year's worth of allowance, Captain," Nami called. "And Sanji, you'll be in debt up to your eyeballs for the rest of your life." "I'm okay with that, Nami Swan," Sanji's voice said. The sisters just laughed as they sat back down, and Vivi had to admit it was a little funny. Something was nagging at her, though. "Father, are you over there?" she called. There was a silence. Perhaps, after everyone got out of the bath and Nami wrote Sanji an invoice, Vivi found herself walking back to her room with a smile on her face. Simply spending time with the crew made her feel so energized, but it was time for bed. At least, she thought it was. As she rounded the corner for her room, a familiar face was in front of her. "Koza?" she asked in confusion. He looked up as she called him, smiling. "Vivi," he said. "Hey, what are you doing here?" she asked curiously. "I've been helping the royal guard secure the palace," he replied. "Battle did a lot of damage and we're making sure no agents are hiding out in here." That made sense. Even though it had not been the focal point of the battle, the palace had taken a fair amount of damage. "Also, I was hoping to get a chance to talk to you." "To me?" she asked. "Why?" He laughed at this. "Because I wanted to thank you again," he said. "You risked your life and ran all over the country making sure I didn't lead the rebels against your father." "I had help," she excused. "I know," he said, "and I still need to thank the Straw Hats as well. But still, you put yourself in the line of fire to save our country. You're a hero." "I'm not," she said with a smile. "I didn't do any of the important fighting. It was Luffy who defeated Crocodile. His crew defeated the number agents. I just pointed the way." "Not all leaders need to fight the battle themselves," he said. "Sometimes you just need to be able to point the way for those following you." "Says you," she replied. You rallied the down and out of this country and fought with them for a better future. He replied, if only I'd had someone like you by my side to convince me something was wrong. Maybe we could have fought Crocodile before we nearly tore the country apart. Vivi became acutely aware of how close they were standing to one another. When are the Straw Hats shipping out? He asked. Maybe I should go to them now before they leave. That might be good, she replied quietly. I don't know when they're leaving either. Well, lead the way, princess. Vivi turned after a moment to lead him to where the Straw Hats were, trying to relax her racing heart. What will you do now? She asked Koza, turning to look at him. I'm not sure, he replied, rubbing at the stubble on his chin. I was intending on asking the king how I could help, but maybe he doesn't want a former rebel helping him. Father would love your help, she replied with a smile. Don't sell yourself short. He nodded absent-mindedly before looking at her. And what about you? He asked. What's the heroic princess planning to do next? Vivi's smile faded from her face, turning so Koza couldn't see as she led him to the Straw Hats. I guess we'll see, she replied cryptically. The crew stared at the transponder snail as the call was ended, exchanging looks to one another. What should we do? Usopp asked. We should ship out now, Nijiko replied, before the Marines seal off the harbor completely. I agree, Nami said. Bon Clay is the only reason the Mary isn't in Marine custody. We need to take this chance and leave while we can. Eyes went to Luffy, who seemed to be thinking. The girls are right, he said as he stood. Pack up your stuff, everyone. We're going to the Mary under the cover of darkness. Vivi led Koza down the hall quietly, trying to not show any embarrassment on her face. She hated that being around Koza invoked these emotions in her, so she shoved them down. Instead, she focused on the door in front of her and opened it. She was surprised when she opened it to see the Straw Hats packing up their things. She also saw that Robin had joined them in the room, standing off to the side. Why are you guys in such a hurry? She asked, gaining their attention. It's time to set out, big sis, Johnny told her as she shouldered a knapsack. Gotta go. Leave? Vivi asked. It's the middle of the night? We know, Nami said, but we have to leave now. Vivi listened as the crew explained to her that Mr. 2 had gotten a hold of them with a transponder snail, and warned them that the Navy was shutting down the port of Nanohana. From what he'd said, escape would be impossible if they waited until daybreak, and if they wanted to avoid capture they had to go. Why is Smoker after you? She asked weakly. We had a deal. Crocodile is gone, Zoro said. Deal's up. Or his superiors came down on him, Nijiko warned. Kokoyashi showed us how little the Navy likes pirates showing them up at weeding out corruption. Either way, we're shipping out, Luffy said. Can't get caught this early on. But, Vivi tried desperately to think of a solution to her problem, but she couldn't. No solution seemed viable other than a midnight escape. But she didn't want them to leave. She didn't want to lose them yet. Well then, Koza said, you'd better get going. I can send some rebels ahead of you to Nanohana. See what the situation is. That'd be a big help, Nami said. Thank you. The thanks is mine to give, Koza said with a small bow. You all opened my eyes and saved this country. There's nothing I can do to thank you for that. If you want to thank us, prepare a feast for whenever we return next, Luffy told him. One befitting of the Pirate King and his crew. Koza laughed. Will do, Captain. I'll warn the chefs. Better get packing, big sis, Yosaku said to Vivi. We leave. He froze, silence falling on the group. He chuckled awkwardly. My bad, big sis Vivi. I'm so used to you being with us I forgot you're home now. Yeah. Vivi said slowly, I am. Do you want to come? Luffy asked casually. Her eyes widened, not expecting the invitation. Is it really okay? She asked in bewilderment. Of course, you're one of us, Luffy replied. Vivi had half expected them to leave without her, but they'd offered her a chance to keep adventuring. Vivi, Koza said from beside her, are you really considering it? She watched him weakly, unsure of what to say. Was she? Here's an idea, Nami said. Vivi turned to the navigator as she packed her stuff. We'll hang out by the edge of Nanohana until dawn. If you don't show, Vivi, we'll understand and leave without you. If you are there, we'll pick you up on our way out. Does that sound good, Luffy? Sounds good to me, Luffy affirmed. Gives you a chance to say your goodbyes if you're coming, Nijiko said. Smart, Don't feel bad for turning us down, we'll understand. Yeah, Marianne said, we're not going to drag you away from your home. Vivi nodded, unable to answer them. As the Straw Hats shuffled out of the room, she exchanged hugs with those who offered, and took the clasps on the back from Zoro and Luffy. She watched as they left, the door closing behind them. Was she following? Get the sails out, you dumbass, Nejiko shouted up at Johnny, who was currently tangled up in rope. We need to sail downriver quickly. What she said? Bon Clay shouted. The agent had sailed the Going Merry up the river for them, docking it near Alubarna. He'd also sailed his own ship there, as a way to leave once they made their escape. Luffy found it odd that the man was ordering his crew around, but a nasty glare from Nejiko made him nervously back off. Yosaku, pull up the anchor. Zoro, get our supplies in here. Luffy, do you have a minute? Luffy looked over as the quartermaster asked for him, walking over to her. What's up? He asked her. I know we said we'd pick Vivi up if she showed, Nejiko said, but if she is there, we are definitely going to have to fight off the Navy. We're probably going to have to regardless. Understood, Luffy replied. Nami, how's the wind looking? They both turned their heads to Nami, who was up above with her tangerine trees, hanging off the railing. Strong enough, for now, she replied. We should be able to get down the river in time if we head out now. Good, he said, then let's get going. Bon Clay, how did the port look when you left? Locked down and getting worse, Straw Hat, the confusing man said. Your navigator is right, we should leave. Luffy nodded. Unfurl the sail, Johnny, he shouted. The swordsman did as he asked, and the Merry caught the wind as a gust rolled by. Soon enough, the Merry was leading the two ships down the Sandora River, steadily making its way down the stream. Satisfied with their course, he turned and walked inside the Merry's cabin, where he saw Marianne doing something odd by the wall. What are you doing in here? He asked, her making her flinch and hide whatever was in her hands behind her back. Nothing, she answered, looking for snacks. There's no snacks in the wall, Luffy told her bluntly. What's that in your hands? And nothing, she replied. Luffy hummed, watching her. Then, in the blink of an eye, he stretched his arm and grabbed the object, ripping it from her hands and surprising her. Hey, she shouted, give that back, it's mine, it's delicate, you oaf. What is it? Luffy asked again, holding the object away from her. Turning his head, he inspected it curiously. Now, he was no expert at paintings, but what he saw was certainly stunning. It was a portrait of the feast from earlier, painted from the side. On it, he saw himself, sitting in between Nami and Zoro, laughing and eating. He broke into a smile. You painted this? He asked her, looking back. He could tell she was blushing. Maybe, she said, give it back. Were you hanging it on the wall? He asked. It's good, you should. It's not that good. Nonsense. Yosaku, get me a hammer and nail, on the double. Yes, big bro. The swordsman replied. After finding a hammer and a nail, Yosaku and Luffy worked to hang the picture of the feast. They settled on the back wall of the cabin, making it visible to anyone as soon as they entered. There we go, Luffy announced as he evened out the portrait. Looks good there, good job, Marianne. He clapped the painter on the back, even as she hid her face behind her sun hat. Walking back out, he watched the horizon as the Merry continued on her way. He didn't know if he would see Vivi again, but he hoped he would. Vivi had gone to bed, but she wasn't sleeping at all. Her head was spinning wildly as she absent-mindedly played with Karu's feathers, who was resting next to her. Groaning, she rolled on her back and stared at the ceiling, trying to figure out what to do. The Straw Hats had offered her a position on their crew. What's more, she was seriously considering accepting. Vivi did find it funny that, had you asked her a month or more ago, she'd have laughed at the idea of joining a pirate crew for real. But now, faced with the chance, she found herself tempted. The Straw Hats were not like other pirates. They weren't particularly bloodthirsty or evil. They seemed more like an adopted family than anything else. Not only that, but they accepted her and decided to help her. Sure, their goals technically aligned with hers, but they still all nearly died helping her. Many of them had sustained violent wounds. Luffy and his Rainbase team had nearly been killed. Yosaku, Johnny and Zoro got beat to hell and back. Nejiko nearly lost a few fingers. They had all fought so hard for her, and she could never repay it. Unless she joined them. But they wouldn't want her to join over some ridiculous debt. That hated her. They asked because they wanted her to come. Because she was their friend. And she wanted to go, so badly she did. But she had responsibilities as the princess. The country was in dire need of leadership as they built themselves back up. She couldn't just leave. What should I do, crew? She asked aloud quietly, so as not to disturb the duck. I want to go, but I don't think I should. Crew quacked softly, but she couldn't discern any meaning from it. How she wished Chopper was here. Deciding she could no longer rest without help, Vivi got up from bed and walked out of her room, making her way for her father's office. She knew he would still be up, as he still had much to do. Reaching the door, the guards outside nodded in respect to her, and she walked past them to knock on the door. "Father," she asked, "may I come in?" "Of course, Vivi," his voice came. Entering the office, she saw her father standing over the table in the middle of the room, which had a map of Alubarna on it. From what she could tell, it had details of where the city was most damaged. "You're still hard at work, I see," she said. "I still need to figure out where to allocate the workforce for the rebuilding effort," he said as he gestured to the map. "There was a lot of damage, but I want to finish the city before we work on the palace." "I see. Did you want to talk about something?" he asked, looking over at her. Vivi frowned, playing with her hands. "I have a problem," she answered. "Of what kind?" "A personal one," she said, "but it could affect a lot of people." This seemed to intrigue him. "What is it?" Vivi paused, looking down at the map to survey the damage. "The Straw Hats said I could join them on their voyage," she said, "and I want to go with them." "Will you?" he asked. Vivi was surprised at his quickness. "I can't," she said. "I'm needed here." "How so?" he asked, looking at her. "I do not mean to sound cruel, Vivi, but you've done so much for our country already. You deserve to rest, to do what you want." "But, it'd be dangerous," she tried. "Are you looking for me to deny you, Vivi?" he asked suddenly. "To give you a stronger reason to stay? Because Dad said no?" "I don't know." He scoffed softly at her words, standing straight and walking to her. "I know you are torn," he said, "because you feel a duty to this country. A duty to help it rebuild. But the only reason we are in a position to rebuild is you, Vivi. The only reason Crocodile did not win is because of you and the Straw Hats. You've done your part. The army, rebels and myself should do ours." "Yeah, but..." Her mouth was failing her. Her father chuckled and placed his hand on her head. "I know it would be dangerous for you to go," he said, "but that didn't stop you infiltrating Baroque works. I doubt it'd stop you now. The question is, Vivi, will you go? Or will you stay?" "I don't know," she said. "I was hoping you'd be able to help me." He laughed again. "It's not a decision I can make for you," he said. "However, I do have something to tell you. Something I know for certain." "What is that?" she asked, glad for a distraction. Her father sighed as he leaned over the table again. "I know this isn't exactly encouragement for you to go," he said, "but I fear what the world government will do with your friends." Vivi raised an eyebrow at this, confused. "What do you mean?" she asked. "They're heroes. They'd never admit that," he replied. "Being saved by pirates? No. I imagine Captain Smoker and his ensign will be rewarded handsomely for discovering Crocodile's deception. The Straw Hats being involved here will disappear." Vivi made a face at this, angry that her friends would not be rewarded for their good deed. "But that won't be it. Their bounties will increase, and I imagine the Navy will be told to look out for them. But what concerns me most is the warlord system." "What about it?" she asked curiously as she joined him at the table. "Crocodile abused the system for his own gain," he said. "He used his immunity to deceive the government, and they'll never admit to that. But the abuse remains. What if other warlords are doing the same? What if their immunity has granted them power they shouldn't? I know the Straw Hats are also pirates, but I feel they are an exception, not the rule. I fear our world leaders are being taken for a ride by these warlords. It should be abolished." "What can we do?" Vivi asked. "Until the reverie. Nothing. Not only that, but I imagine trying to spread the truth in any official capacity could earn us a visit from Cypher Pole. I can only imagine what damage some of them are doing." Vivi thought about this. She imagined what kind of damage an unchecked crocodile could do, and she felt rage welling up inside of her. She thought about Drum Island, Chopper's home, who had to suffer under a tyrant. one that the world government regularly invited to reveries. And the government will just let it happen until it's too late, she said. I imagine they will, her father agreed. After all, they'll see Crocodile as an outlier. They won't look any deeper than that because that would cause a commotion. Vivi couldn't believe this. Was the world government really that obtuse? If it was her up there making decisions, Crocodile's behavior would earn a full review and revamp of the warlord system. But it was going to be swept under the rug, like it was nothing. Like Alabasta and her people were nothing. Could she let that happen elsewhere? A thought occurred to her. She again thought of Drum. She thought of Chopper and Dr. Kureha, who had suffered under Waipal's rule. She thought about Nami and Najiko, who had suffered thanks to corrupt officials not taking action. If I went with the Straw Hats, she said, we'd be fighting warlords. And the government. We could stop them. Her father looked over at her. I imagine so, he agreed. Warlords are supposed to stop pirates, after all. He smiled softly, saying, have you found your reason to go, Vivi? It occurred to her then how determined she felt to dismantle any corrupt leaders. She had always been raised to believe a ruler needed to be fair, just and benevolent. Seeing people like Crocodile, Wapol or Arlong infuriated her. She wanted to find them and stop them before they hurt anyone else with their power-grabbing schemes. Anyone for that matter, regardless of their status. The strong shouldn't abuse the weak. I think I have, she said. He smiled softly and approached her. Part of me wants to tell you to stay, he said, to parent you like before, but I realize that you've been hardened and grown in Baroque works. You've become a strong and determined young lady, Vivi. If you do go, know that I support you. She smiled up at her father, tears threatening to leak out. I can't believe I'm considering leaving, she whispered quietly, after finally coming home again. He laughed as she fell into him, hugging him tightly. Your home is open to you anytime, Vivi, he said. I can never support your decision, but I am so proud of who you've become. Thank you, Dad. A thought occurred to her. What about the speech I'm supposed to make? I have an idea. Yosaku, hold the line, you bald bastard. I can't deflect them all. Big bro Sanji. Another volley incoming. Luffy stumbled as the Merry took a hit from the massive spears being thrown at them, quickly getting back to his feet and throwing a punch to knock one out of the air. Sanji, join Yosaku and Zoro on defense, he shouted. Chopper, Johnny, go below and help Usopp with repairs. Nami, get us the hell out of range. I'm working on it, Nami shouted, throwing the wheel of the Merry to the left, veering them out of the way from another volley. Luffy cast a glance over at Bon Clay's ship, but he didn't have time to worry about their new ally. He had his own problems to worry about. Just as the former agent had said, the coastline had been shut down by the Navy, who were looking to take them in. How's it going over there, Mari? Luffy shouted back towards the cabin. He stopped rocking all over the goddamn place. She roared back, the most energetic he'd ever seen her. The little painter and Najiko were working on a special surprise for the Marines, but they needed time. Robin, he shouted at their newest crew member standing at the bow. Keep them off of us. I know, the woman replied casually, using her devil fruit powers to spawn lines of arms that deflected away the spears and cannonballs. Despite all the defense they had, an alarming amount of damage had gotten through. They'd have gotten away already if they weren't waiting. Do you see her? He shouted to Nami. No, Nami replied, we've still got time. Luffy grit his teeth as cannonballs landed around him. Veer closer to the land. The Navy will be less inclined to attack if they might hit the city, Nami nodded, doing as he instructed. It was almost noon, which meant it was nearly time for Vivi's pickup, if she so wished. Luffy really hoped she was coming along, but he wasn't going to force her. Then again, he couldn't get them all sunk for her either. She needed to be exactly on time or they were in trouble. Turning towards the ships, Luffy stretched out his arm and punched a few cannonballs of course, making them sink into the water. Marianne, he shouted. Give me a few more minutes, she shouted. Do you trust me? Luffy let out a laugh and cracked his knuckles. Of course, working with Yosaku, Sanji and Robin, they four of them deflected countless attacks and sent them careening away. Little by little, the group coasted further to their objective, yet there was no sign of Vivi yet. Done, he heard. Luffy turned back to see Marianne and Najiko come out of the cabin carrying cannonballs with comically large corks in them. Luffy, take these. Taking one in each hand, he regarded them quietly. What is it? He asked as Marianne whipped out her paints. Bombs filled with betrayal black, she shouted, and gunpowder. They'll splash the Marines upon impact and make them fight one another. Only two? He asked. There's a lot of ships, Mari. No time. Here, Luffy felt his vest come off and paint splash on his back. Bullseye blue. This'll help you aim. As she said this, Luffy felt his vision clear. He could see the ships chasing them, but he could also see how he needed to throw it and the arc he needed to use. Grinning, he cracked his shoulders. Back up, everyone. Clearing an area around him, Luffy stretched his arms out and spun around, knowing exactly how much power he needed to hit the ships. Once he had it, he let go. He watched as the cannonballs soared through the air, nailing two of the closest ships. There was an intermission in the fighting, before the ships turned and began firing on their own allies. Luffy grinned at the result as chaos ensued. "Atta B, Mari," he cheered, ruffling the girl's hair. "You're our savior." "It's not over yet, Straw Hat," a new voice said. Luffy looked over to see Bon Clay leaning over the railing of his own ship. "Bad news. Black Cage Hina is the one after us. She's relentless. We need to get out of here." "We can't go," Luffy replied. "We need to keep going this way." "Why? It's pointless. We should make use of Golden Week's distraction." "We are," Zoro replied. "We're using it to gain distance on them." Bon Clay looked annoyed by this. "Why are you so insistent?" he demanded. "What's so important about East?" "We're picking up our friend," Luffy replied. This seemed to stun Bon Clay into silence, a shocked expression on his face. After a few seconds, he fell backwards onto the floor of his ship, tears gathering in his eyes. "All this, for a friend?" he asked. "My goodness, that is beautiful." "Less crying, more fighting back," Najiko told him as she ducked beneath a cannonball. "Straw Hat," Bon Clay said, "come to me. I have an idea." Hina watched the two ships quietly, not satisfied with the damage they had inflicted. The Straw Hats were much more resilient than she had counted on. No matter, they couldn't outrun them forever. And when they slowed, it would be over for them. Until the duck ship veered off course, heading south. Making a face, Hina grabbed the binoculars on the railing and took a look. When she did, she gasped. The deck of the Going Merry was empty, and the other ship had the Straw Hats on board. "Change course," she shouted. "The Going Merry is a distraction. The Straw Hats are on the other ship." Luffy watched from the small window as Bon Clay and his men tore through the water, going fast and hard to sell the escape. He tried to ignore the crying of Johnny and Yosaku. "Brother Clay," Johnny wailed, "we won't forget your sacrifice here today." "I'll name my son, or my daughter after you," Yosaku cried. "Would you two shut up?" Zoro asked. The pair tried to obey their teacher, but were failing massively. "Listen to me, Straw Hat. My crew and I will done your appearances and make a break for it so you can pick up your friend." "What? Why would you do that?" "Why, you say? Do you need to ask?" "It's because we're friends, of course." Luffy watched the ship sail away, gritting his teeth. "Thank you, Bon," he said. "We couldn't have done this without you." The crew waited a few more minutes before coming back out onto the deck, keeping their heads down just in case. "I recently went on an adventure." Luffy jumped as Vivi's voice echoed around them. "Vivi?" he asked. "Where is she?" "It's coming from town," Chopper said as he hung from the railing. "She's giving a speech of some kind." Luffy ran to the edge with the others, leaning over to get a better look. Sure enough, from where they were, he could see speakers up all over town, echoing the princess's voice. It was an adventure over deep oceans and dark tides. I was searching for hope. The ocean challenged me when I left this country. There are so many fantastical and insane islands and people in this world. The sound of the waves crashing would soon become a comforting feeling. As if it was attempting to drown out all the horror I experienced in those 2 years. To reassure me that hope was just around the corner. It was on this dark ocean I happened across a tiny ship. This ship pushed me and asked, "Can you see that light? It's just there, over the horizon." It was this ship that showed me the light. History from today on will diminish its role, say it's a legend or an illusion, but it is real. It is real to me. "Luffy," Nami said quietly, tugging on his arm, "I don't see her." "Just wait," he said back, "she'll be here." But this ocean is darker than I ever imagined. Enemies of the people lurk around every corner. Alabasta is not the only nation that suffered. It is not the only one suffering as we speak. While that little ship gave me light, many others tried to shroud it in darkness. But it pushed ever forward, and soon we basked in the sun of victory. I cannot repay that ship for that. I don't think she's coming, Zoro said resolutely. Let's get going, Usopp said sadly. The Marines already discovered Bon Clay's diversion, we need to go. Luffy made a face, hoping for Vivi to show. But she didn't, and the clock ticked onward. We need to go, he finally said, or else we'll get caught. Everyone, I need to be up front with you, Vivi said again. She was clearer this time. I have made a decision. I cannot stay in Alabasta. Not while other nations and people crumble under the rule of tyrants. I have seen enough pain, I do not wish to see anyone else suffer. Luffy's eyes widened and he turned around. That little ship that showed me the light will continue on, but I will be joining them. Together, we will bring that light of freedom and peace wherever we go. That little ship will not die a legend. I will make it so. I have saved my home. But I cannot rest peacefully until all those who would abuse their power are deposed. This is my promise. When the world has been righted and tyrants overthrown, I will return home. I will bring the light that saved Alabasta to every corner of this planet of ours. It is the least I can do, Tofue. Look, Johnny shouted. Standing on a rocking outcropping, next to Karoo, was Vivi. She was dressed into a white linen shirt and jean shorts, a traveling pack over her shoulder and her hair in a ponytail. She had a transponder snail's receiver in her hand, from which she was speaking to the nation. I'm here, she cried out. I came to join you. Turn us around, Luffy roared, the crew springing into action. As the Mary turned around, Vivi continued speaking. This country is in capable hands, she said. My father is a fair man, and Koza of the former rebels is as passionate about Alabasta as me or anyone of royalty. This country does not need me, or my little ship of light, but others do. And I intend to make right the wrongs of this world. Soon the Mary reached the shore, and Luffy saw Vivi's tearful smile. Shakily, she raised the receiver one more time. I'm going now, she called, to bring this light around the world. I ask you do not mourn or be saddened by my departure. I ask you instead to be proud of the warrior for justice that was raised in these sands. A woman who will not stand for injustice or corruption. Alabasta, I ask for your support. Luffy heard a roar erupt from Nanohana. This will not be the last you hear of me, Vivi said. I will be in the news, in the word of mouth, bringing down anyone who stands in my ship's way. Farewell. Vivi set down the transponder snail as they made landfall, everyone rushing to her. And a promise just for you guys, Vivi said as she looked to Luffy. I promise to help make you the king of the pirates. I'll do whatever is in my power, if you'll have me. If I'll have you? Luffy asked, as if there was ever any doubt. Let's go. Vivi nodded, but she then turned to Karoo. Karoo, she said, you heard me. I know we discussed this, and you disagreed, but I want you to stay here. Karoo quacked in anger. He said there's no way that'll happen, Chopper translated, he and you are a team. I know, Vivi replied, Karoo, I know. But this journey, it'll be beyond anything we saw with Baroque works. I can't bear the thought of you getting hurt because you came. Another quack. He said he can't bear the thought of you getting hurt because he isn't there to help you. Vivi let out a tearful laugh. I'm not going along or just with Igaram, she told him. I have our friends protecting me. Remember, please, Karoo. I know this isn't fair. I know it's not what you want, but could you please do this for me? Karoo stared at Vivi for a long time. Luffy had never seen such a disapproving face on a duck before. It was quite a sight. However, after a few more seconds, the duck lowered his head and quacked in resignation. He said he'll go back, Chopper said. Vivi let out a relieved sigh. Thank you, she said. Moving forward, she wrapped her arms around the duck's neck and hugged him. Thank you, Karoo. I'll sleep so much better knowing you're safe. Karoo leaned into her hug, but then quacked again. Chopper said, he said if you die he'll never forgive you, ever. You'll go to the grave carrying the curse of Karoo. Vivi choked out a laugh. I wouldn't want that, would I? She asked. Thank for this, Karoo. I mean it. I don't mean to speed this goodbye along, Robin said, but it appears the Navy is getting closer to us. Vivi, Luffy said sympathetically, we have to go. Okay, she said, wiping at her eyes. Okay. Still, she looked back at Karoo and caressed his wing. Remember, she said, even though you aren't with us, you're still one of us thanks to this mark. Remember? Luffy looked down at his arm, where the X that told them who was and wasn't Bon Clay still was. The crew flashed their X's at Karoo, who grew tearful and saluted with his marked wing. Cannonball! Usopp shouted. A volley of cannonballs hit the ground and water near them, making the merry rock in the water. Luffy laughed. Alright you guys, he said, get on board and let's get out of here. Together with their new addition, the Straw Hats ran back on board and quickly began sailing away from the Marines chasing them. Luffy spared a glance back to see Karoo watching them go, laughing as he followed them along the coast. Looks like he's still waving, Vivi, he shouted, making the princess look back. She smiled widely, and began waving as the others fought off the Marines. Look after the place, Karoo, she called, I'm counting on you to make sure my dad does a good job. Luffy could have sworn he heard a quack. What next, Luffy? Nami asked. Luffy chuckled. Next, we find the One Piece, of course. I can't navigate us there from here, Luffy. Then why did I bring you along? Ha ha ha. Follow the log pose, Nami. We'll outrun the Navy if it's the last thing we do. Nami swung the wheel and veered the Mary away from the coastline of Alabasta, causing the Sand Kingdom to fade further and further into the background. Soon enough, the little duck on the coast became but a speck on the horizon, and soon enough the country itself was too. Turning to Vivi, he smiled. No turning back now, he told her. She smiled back at him, looking determined. I wouldn't have it any other way. She what? Igaram shouted, making Cobra flinch in his throne. It had been a few days since his daughter had left with the Straw Hats, and Igaram had finally returned. He'd been saved by Nico Robin when everyone thought he was dead, but he'd missed Vivi before she'd left. Igaram please, no shouting, Cobra insisted. With all due respect, Your Highness, I disagree with your reasoning, Igaram replied, looking very flustered. Vivi is princess, she should not have been allowed to go. That didn't seem to concern you when you went with her into Baroque works, he replied coolly, making Igaram flinch. That was for our home, now she has left to protect others. I could not stop her. But she is with pirates, Igaram replied, she'll make enemies of the government and the warlords. Which is her aim, Cobra replied, making Igaram's eyes widen. She has witnessed firsthand the government covering up their own incompetence in this matter. She will use her own voice and actions to quell further cover-ups. I doubt this will be the last conspiracy the Straw Hats find themselves embroiled in, Pell added from beside him. They seem the type to find trouble rather easily. Her experiences have made her a determined woman, Cobra added. I could not tell her she had to stay. Even though she was almost looking for a reason to stay, I could see that me ordering her to do so would crush her. Igaram looked incredibly annoyed, pulling at his shirt collar in exasperation. It's been how many days? He demanded. A few, Cobra responded. This seemed to annoy him further. Won't catch up to them, then, he muttered. Great, she's stuck with them. You seem to have a rather harsh depiction of the Straw Hats, Chaka noted with a smirk on his face. Of course I do. The redhead asked for 1 billion berries, she demanded payment for their help. Who, Nami? Cobra asked. No way she did. I swear on my life she did. Well, she certainly made no such demands to me, Cobra replied. So I do find it hard to believe. Regardless, Igaram, I think my daughter is in good hands. Do not be alarmed by the money demand. We didn't pay them. You know, Nami said as she and Vivi bobbed up and down slowly. I forgot to ask your dad for my money. Money? Vivi asked, legs crossed on the back of the swordsman she was sitting on. Did I ever tell you about that? I asked for 1 billion berries for our help but never got it. Huh, Vivi said with a snicker. Well, thank God you didn't bankrupt my home for your help. We earned it, though, Nami argued. You did, she replied with a laugh. The two of them were currently on the deck of the Mary, but only kind of. They were actually sitting on Johnny and Yosaku's backs as they did push-ups, helping the two train. Both of them had been at it since morning, having finished their duties as ordered by Najiko earlier. Are you keeping count, big sis Vivi? Johnny asked from below her. Vivi spared a thought to wonder how his glasses stayed on at all times. You're both nearly 300, she said. This was only a half-life, she'd stop counting past 150. First to 500 wins, Yosaku called. Both redoubled their efforts, making both girls move a little quicker. It had been 3 days since their departure from Alabasta, having long since lost the Marines tailing them. In that time, Vivi quickly grew accustomed to helping out on the ship in any way she could, which seemed mostly to be sitting on Johnny or Yosaku while they trained. Sanji was horrified he wasn't the one being sat on, which made no sense to her, but the ghastly look on his face made it apparent he was no fan. He'd even been held back by Luffy and Zoro the first time she'd been asked to help. The repairs that the Mary needed had slowed them down some, as sailing with a damaged hull was asking to sink. Usopp had been down below from quite some time because of this, patching her up as best she could. Captain Hina had done a lot of damage, it seemed. "We should look into hiring a shipwright," Vivi said absent-mindedly, making Nami look back at her as she sipped her tropical-looking drink. "The Mary needs real repairs." Probably, Nami agreed. "We'll work on that when we find someplace." "Water 7 has legendary shipwrights," Marianne's voice said. Looking behind her, Vivi saw the painter coming out of the cabin. "That's where you wanted to go, right?" she asked, Marianne nodding. "Two birds with one stone." "Yeah," Marianne agreed, "the guy who built Roger's ship lived there." This caught Vivi's attention. "As in the king of the pirates?" she asked, Marianne nodding. "Is he not there anymore?" "He's dead," Marianne replied. "Government hunted down everyone associated with Roger after he died." Vivi frowned at this. She knew why the world government hated Roger, but hunting down anyone related to him seemed downright excessive. "Still, the city is known for its shipwrights, so I'm sure we'll find someone." "Then we'd better get some money," Vivi noted, "so we can pay for it." "Pay?" Nami whined. "We're pirates, can't we just not do that?" "Don't be cheap." Vivi looked over just in time to see Nijiko slap the back of her sister's head, making her whine dramatically. "We can pay after we rob some other pirates. Or we just keep that loot and repair and dash," Nami muttered. Nijiko raised her hand again, making Nami dramatically flinch away like she was traumatized. It made Vivi giggle as the sisters scrapped. "What's going on over here?" Luffy's voice came all dramatically from behind them. Turning, Vivi looked towards the captain, who had hands sticking out of his head. "Gah!" she cried in surprise as Johnny collapsed underneath her, sending them both sprawling over the deck. "Big bro, you've got hands on your head," the man cried in surprise. "Do I?" Luffy asked. Raising his hand, Luffy high-fived himself. "Seems I do, ha ha ha." "I win," Yosaku declared from beneath Nami. "I won the competition." "That wasn't fair. Big bro Luffy spooked me," Johnny demanded. "We need a redo." "No we don't." "Yes we do." As the swordsman argued, Nijiko turned and slammed herself down on Yosaku's back, sending all three of them to the deck in a heap. Nijiko, conveniently, had the most graceful landing. "There, you both lose," she said. This sent everyone into a fit of laughter, Vivi included. Most days were like this. Sailing the ocean, laughing their heads off at benign things. She knew this adventure was going to be fun, but she hadn't expected this. Sparing a glance to the side, Vivi looked at Robin leaning on the rail of the ship, watching with an innocent smile. The former agent had been distant with them since joining, referring to them all by their titles and not their names. Maybe she was uncomfortable, or maybe she was annoyed by them. It was extremely hard to tell. "Lunch is ready," Sanji announced as he came out of the cabin, "and Luffy, if I have to tell you one more time to let the women take theirs first, I swear to God all." Sanji was interrupted as a galleon fell from the sky directly beside them. Vivi was launched into the air when the Mary was hit by the resulting wave, landing back hard on the deck and moaning in pain. Seeing a flash of the galleon had scrambled her understanding of reality. Where was she? What had just happened? What the hell just happened? She heard Zoro shout from somewhere nearby. "A goddamn ship fell from the sky," Luffy shouted back. "Is everyone okay? Vivi, you alright?" Her captain's face appeared in her vision, looking alarmed by her sprawling on the deck. "I am alright," she replied weakly. "I got thrown into the air." "Here, let me help you up." Vivi took his hand when he offered it, getting to her feet shakily. Looking around, she saw that everyone else had experienced the same launch. Marianne was beneath Johnny, who had jumped to shield her from any falling debris. Yosaku had grabbed Nami and Nijiko and shoved them to the ground, guarding them with his own body as well. Zoro and Sanji were alert for enemies. Why? Chopper and Usopp were still below deck, so she couldn't account for them. Guys, Sanji said from the edge, you may want to look at this. Vivi moved to look, but her feet bumped into something. Looking down, she nearly jumped directly out of her skin and into the afterlife when a skull was staring back at her. A skeleton had fallen from the sky with the ship, landing with them on the deck. She assumed it must have been in some sort of coffin, seeing as it was surrounded by debris. Grossed out, she stepped around it to the edge and looking into the water. Sure enough, floating in the water next to them was the remnants of a ship as it sunk. The wood looked old and rotten, while anything else was in a million pieces from the impact of hitting the water. Where the hell did that come from? Zoro asked. It's not even stormy, Johnny said as he stared up at the sky. Is raining ships a thing on the Grand Line? If it is, it's not super reported on, Nami noted. A groan nearby alerted everyone to Usopp and Chopper's arrival up top. What the hell was that? Usopp asked as he rubbed his head, a bump forming. Look for yourself, Robin told him. Both walked to join them all, Usopp making a confused sound. Where did that come from? The sky, Yosaku told him flatly. Haha, Usopp replied. Seriously, what happened? No one corrected Yosaku's assessment. Wah, really? The sky? Really, Marianne agreed. We all saw it. How does that happen? Chopper asked as he craned his neck back to look at the sky. If I had to guess, Robin said as she did the same, I'd imagine it came from a sky island. The entire crew turned to look at her at once. Oh, what now? Nijiko asked. An island in the sky, Robin replied as if they were all fools for not understanding. Vivi, however, raised a hand to her chin and hummed. I remember hearing rumors about those, she said, everyone turning to her now. Islands in the sky, with people living there. Pell used to tell me that angels lived in the sky islands. That's got to be a bunch of bull, Zoro said. I've never heard of these things once. Well, Nami said shakily, it would explain our log pose. It was the navigator's turn to ear their attention. And Vivi soon saw the problem. The log pose that directed them was pointing upwards. It seems the sky island has made our log pose deviate, Robin said. That's unfortunate. But we need to follow this thing, Nami said in exasperation. We can't go up. I suggest we find a way, Robin replied, or else we'll be sailing blind. No, Nami said as she waved her arms. Going up isn't possible. Not without a devil fruit, and I don't know if you've noticed, but we don't have a spare bird fruit to feed the Mary. Well, she does have a mouth, Yosaku pondered, staring at the figurehead of the ship. Could we? No, that's ridiculous, Johnny told him. Mary can't actually eat the fruit, Yosaku. We'd need to nail the fruit into the ship's hull. Ah, I see. No one else does, you morons, Marianne remarked from between them. Well, this massive ship had to have come from somewhere, Robin remarked. Where else but a sky island? No one had an answer for that as the ship's archaeologist walked away from the edge towards the skeleton that had fallen onto the deck. Let's ask our friend, shall we? He's dead, Usopp told her with a flippant wave of his hand. We can still learn from him, Robin said. Doctor, come and join me for a moment. Chopper looked towards Luffy for approval, who shrugged with a blank expression and beckoned him forward. Joining Robin, the two examined the skeleton quietly. Doctor, what do you make of these holes in his head? The woman pointed to the holes, and Chopper examined them closely. They don't look like high-impact fractures, he said, more like deliberate holes. Seems like trepanation to me. Trap hole? Luffy asked. Trepanation, Chopper corrected. It's an old surgery humans used to do before we had decent medical knowledge. They drilled holes in people's heads to get demons out. Need to use that one a fair amount of the men on this ship, Nijiko noted. Like who? Johnny asked. Nijiko didn't answer him, making Marianne snicker. Given how old trepanation is, Robin said, this body has to be about 200 years old, at the least. Agreed, Chopper said. He must have been young as well, because the bones look to be in otherwise good shape with a lack of wear and tear. His teeth are in very good condition, Robin noted, running her finger across them. They have a film on them, reminiscent of a oil coating. Some cultures in the South Blue used to do this. Navigator, could you fetch me my South Blue history textbook from our room? It should be on the middle shelf. The crew waited around patiently as Nami went and fetched the book. Returning with it rather quickly, Robin began to expertly flick through it. Found it, she said. The ship was named the Saint Breeze, sailed from Breeze Kingdom 208 years ago. That's the same sail that's in the water, Yosaku noted, pointing to the Saint Breeze's sails. It seems it was an explorer vessel, Robin noted. If we could find the ship's log, we could see where it's been. It's currently sinking to the bottom of the Grand Line, Zoro told her. Well, she replied, we'd better get someone down there to check it out. After stopping, Luffy was jumping overboard to go check the ship out. The crew went about making pathetic-looking scuba suits, made from a trio of empty barrels with glass windows for the people to see out of. From there, Usopp made rubber suits for the limbs. After a few hours of powering through it, they ended up with 3 suits. I'm going. Luffy demanded. I want to explore the ship. That's a disaster in the making, Nami said, rattling her head against Luffy's skull. With how empty this thing is, you'll rupture your suit and drown. You think so? He asked, turning to look at her as she continued bonking him, making her giggle. Vivi had to admit, he did look rather dumb just staring blankly at her like he didn't understand. I'll go with him, Zoro said, walking up to their suits. Make sure he doesn't do anything stupid. Well, now I have to go, Sanji said, and make sure you don't do anything stupid. What was that, shit cook? You heard me, Marimo. Can we send someone with more than one active brain cell down there? Nijiko demanded. I'll go, Yosaku offered. Everyone just stared blankly at him. What? He asked. Silence. Let's get going, Luffy called. As the 3 got into their suits, Vivi helped them jump overboard, watching them descend slowly with the tube giving them all air slowly following. It's helpful we had this stuff lying around, she noted as she turned to the air system they'd made. It was basically a hose of air for each of them, but it did its job. I was planning on making underwater suits anyway, Usopp noted. Helpful for situations exactly like this, when we sink an enemy ship but want to loot it. I like the sound of that, Nami said as she walked over to their makeshift microphone, which was really just a tube to shout down. Luffy, bring up any gold you see down there too. Will do, the captain's voice came back. There's a ton of monsters down here, Sanji said out of his own tube. That one kinda looks like Chopper, Luffy laughed. What does that mean, you prick? Chopper demanded down to Luffy, making him laugh again. Pull the brake, Chopper, that should be far enough, Nami said. The reindeer, in his bigger form, did as he was told and stopped the trio's descent. As they did so, Vivi heard something in the distance. Turning to look over her shoulder, she saw a figure in the distance. Guys, she asked, something's coming towards us. She pointed out the figure, garnering everyone's attention. They all watched as it got closer, revealing itself as another ship. Think they want anything from us? Nijiko asked. Who knows, but they're still coming right at us, Marianne replied. Vivi felt unnerved as getting a bad feeling. Let me do the talking, she said. Everyone turned to look at her, so she said, my dad trained me in diplomacy. I know how to get what I want from someone. We'll follow your lead, princess, Nijiko replied. Nodding, they all waited as the other ship got close enough for them to see what and how it was. And Vivi was quite confused. The ship looked like a jungle-themed playground, complete with a massive monkey figurehead. It was a massive ship compared to theirs, so she needed to avoid conflict. Palm tress on the deck swayed in the breeze, and she could hear cheering from the deck. Oi! A male voice shouted, you lot down there, what are you doing in my territory? Looking over to the side of the ship, Vivi saw the man confronting them. If it even was a man, because he looked like a monkey in overalls. He had the word, Masira, written on his chest, which she could only assume was his name. She caught glances of his crew, who were also ape-adjacent, which just confused her further. These were odd ones, all right. Your territory? She called back. I apologize, we didn't know. Who are you? Who am I? Can't you read, girl? I'm Masira. Masira, his crew chanted. This was unlike anything she'd seen so far in her life, but she had to focus. That ship that sank is mine. Got that? I'm the only one who gets to salvage around here. Of course someone like him shows up. Nami muttered under her breath. Vivi became aware of the fact that Johnny had his hand resting on his blade. Yosaku also looked primed to fight. "We apologize for intruding on your turf, Captain Masira," she said, throwing in "Captain" to make him feel important. One of the most important rules of diplomacy was making your adversary know you consider them important and worth respect, even if he did look like an ape. Vivi quickly made up an idea as to why they were salvaging. "You see, our ship was damaged in a recent fight with the Navy, and we've been limping across the Grand Line since. We saw this ship sinking, but no one nearby, so we assumed we could salvage some supplies for repairs. Would that be okay with you?" It wasn't an entire lie. The Mary was still damaged from the fight with the Navy off the coast of Alabasta, and those damages were still showing. Masira rubbed his chin as he stared at their ship. Your caravel does seem damaged," he noted. "Very well. We will allow you to use some salvage for repairs. Men, raise the ship." The crew cheered, but their joy was undercut by someone running up to Masira. "Boss, big trouble. Our guys that went down already, they're in trouble." "What is it?" Masira demanded. "Sea monsters, ghosts, apes. They said it looked like 3 guys down there." The crew paled collectively. "He ruins everything," Marianne noted. "It's a talent of his," Nami agreed. Vivi had to think quickly. She had just convinced Masira they weren't a threat, but now Luffy, Zoro and Sanji had thrown a monkey wrench into everything by attacking his men who had gone underwater. There was a way out of this, she just needed to be convincing. "Masira," she shouted, "I know who attacked your men." "Who?" he demanded. Vivi gulped. She had to phrase this correctly. "It's our men," she replied. "Our captain and 2 others went below the surface to scavenge for the repairs I mentioned. They wouldn't have known your men weren't enemies. If you just let them resurface, I'm sure we can get an apology for their behavior." Masira looked annoyed with her, so she did her best to look amicable and friendly. Last thing they needed was to start a fight with such a bigger ship. "Fine then. Let your men surface, and apologize immediately. I expect tears and everything." "May as well ready our cannon then," Nami muttered. "Oh well, better this than anything else. Luffy," she called into the pipe connecting them to their allies. "Get up here, we have company." "Nami?" he asked. "You sure? There's a ton of treasure down here?" "Treasure?" Nami demanded. "Well, bring it all up with you, but be sneaky about it, otherwise we'll be in trouble." "Even when I bring her treasure she gets me in trouble," Luffy mumbled through the pipe. There was a brief silence as Johnny and Yosaku pulled up the trio in the water, Vivi trying to figure out how she was going to get Luffy to apologize. As she thought, she noted Robin had her eyes on the enemy ship, occasionally moving her hands in an odd motion. What was she doing? She was interrupted by a shout from the pipe. "Luffy?" Nijiko asked into it. "You guys okay?" Sanji's voice came. "I think we just got eaten by something." "Stop clowning around," Nami told him. "Hurry up." "He's not lying, Nami," Zoro said. "I think we got." Before Zoro could finish, the Mary and Masira's ship lurched forward. Vivi stumbled, but couldn't get a word out before they began sailing forward. "What the hell is happening?" Marianne asked. "Look at the tubes," Usopp said. "We're being pulled by something." Vivi looked and noticed he was right. The tubes feeding air to Luffy and the others were being pulled forward along with them. "Well, these things happen," Nami said. "Sever the tubes and leave them to die." Nijiko punched her sister in the arm at this. "Don't be a moron," she chastised. "Chopper, go correct the rudder so he keep up with whatever is pulling us. We don't want to lose them." Alright." Chopper transformed into his buff form and ran for the rudder control to correct its course. "Easy my friends," Masira shouted from his own ship. "We'll be okay once the beast lets us go, we just need to." Masira was interrupted as the water behind his ship erupted upwards, a massive creature surfacing. Vivi looked up to find a massive turtle had surfaced, the air tubes they'd given to their crew hanging from its mouth. "It's a monster," Usopp shouted. "We're gonna die." "Relax," Vivi said as she got a closer look. "It's a grand turtle, they're peaceful." "It ate Big Bro Luffy and the others," Yosaku shouted. "It was probably an accident," she replied. "I imagine it surfaced to throw up what is just at." Vivi's point was made when the turtle opened its mouth and ejected the ship, Luffy, Sanji and Zoro, along with several men that could only be Masira's men. Luffy reacted quickly once he was airborne, grabbing Sanji and Zoro and stretching his arm towards Mary's mast and flinging them towards the ship. They landed hard on the deck, Luffy laughing. A bunch of loot from the ship landed around them in a circle, a suit of armor nearly hitting Johnny on the head. That was awesome. Luffy shouted, "Let's go again." "Let's not," Zoro replied, "that turtle has horrible breath." "Glad to see you two weren't digested," Nijiko said. "Now, stand up and be nice, we have guests." All three men got to their feet, turning to face Masira and his crew. "That's a monkey," Luffy said bluntly. "Good, so you two have something in common," Nami told him flatly, making Marianne snort. "I see your captain has joined us," Masira shouted. "You there, apologize to my men for beating them up." A few ape-adjacent looking crewmates of Masira appeared behind him, looking beaten up. "Why?" Luffy demanded. "They attacked me too. I don't care, apologize before me sink the lot of you." "Luffy," Vivi said, grabbing a hold of her captain's shoulder. "Don't antagonize them. Our repairs aren't finished, and they've got more firepower than us. Last thing we need is to lose the Mary." "I'm not gonna apologize for beating us guys who attacked us," Luffy said. "Then don't, what?" Vivi took a deep breath. "Words are powerful, Luffy," she said. "If you chose them carefully, they're better than a weapon. Don't apologize for attacking his men. Apologize for not knowing they weren't enemies, and that you wouldn't have if you'd known they were friendly. Here, repeat after me." Luffy made a face at this, seemingly judging her words. Finally, he turned back to Masira and sighed. "Hey," he called, "I'm sorry, I didn't know your guys were enemies. The Grand Line is dangerous, so I attacked first and planned on asking questions later." Masira watched them warily for a few seconds, looking unimpressed. After a few seconds, his mouth spread into a cheeky grin. "It's no problem," he said with a wave. "After all, things are dangerous out here, can't be too careful. Now, let's set about fixing your ship." "See?" Vivi whispered to him. "You didn't technically apologize for attacking, easy." "Damn," Luffy said. "Where'd you learn that?" "I've been trained in diplomacy, Luffy. I know how to talk." Luffy grinned back at her. "Good thing you're here," he said, "otherwise we'd have a fight on our hands." The crew went about their business as Masira got his crew organized to gather the bits of the ship that the turtle had thrown up, even though there wasn't much. That was until Nami went through what Luffy and the others dragged up from the seafloor. "There's no ship log here," she shouted at him. "No charters, no maps, no nothing, what use are you?" "Treasure is treasure," Luffy shouted back. "Besides, how are we supposed to find books and stuff underwater? It'd all be soggy and useless. It'd be in a chest. Well, we checked, wasn't any books." "Relax, Nami," Nijiko said, leaning on the railing. "I doubt that ship had anything useful left on it. Whoever killed them took anything of value. I would." "Well, we don't know if anyone killed anyone," Vivi argued, crossing her arms, "but I agree. Ship was probably ransacked years ago." Nami exhaled loudly and slouched. "So now what?" she demanded. "We're lost without a functioning log pose, what do we do?" "Don't fret, navigator," Robin said, joining the conversation. "I found a little treat for you." A shadow came over the ship, blotting out the sun. "What happened?" Nami asked. Before Robin could reply, people began screaming on Masira's ship, making them jump. Looking over, Vivi saw them trembling and pointing to the sky. Turning herself, her eyes widened. Plastered against the sky was a trio of massive outlines. Outlines in the shape of people. They towered high into the sky, able to crush Mary under their heel easily, and they seemed to be facing their direction. "What the hell is that?" she heard Yosaku screech. "Monsters," Johnny shouted, "we need to get the hell out of here." "Chopper," Luffy shouted, "get us out of here." The reindeer ran for the stick, and soon the Mary was fleeing as fast as it could go. Every so often they looked over their shoulder, but the beasts had disappeared. That didn't prevent them from going until the wind died. "Did we lose them?" Johnny asked. "Well, I can't see them, so I guess," Yosaku replied. "Seems Masira fled as well," Robin noted coolly. "Well, now what?" Nami demanded. "We needed him to get us to civilization, now we're lost again." "Not true," Robin said. She reached into her Jack NG at Nami, who stumbled but caught it. "I stole that from our ape friend. It's an eternal pose." "When did you do that?" Vivi asked. While he was posturing on us, she replied. We had need of it, so I took it. Good work, Robin. Luffy said. Nami, what does the pose point to? Some place called Jaya, the redhead replied. At least now we have a direction, better than nothing. Onwards to Jaya then, Luffy shouted, then to the sky. That's not how that works. Ow. The ride to Jaya was relatively uneventful, which resulted in the men of the crew being ordered around. Before long, though, the Mary sailed through calm waters and warm winds. Seagulls circled overhead, which meant land had to have been nearby. Vivi kept her eyes on the horizon, keeping an eye out for any signs of life. Hey, she heard Yosaku's voice ask from behind her. Why do seagulls circle ships? Probably looking for food, Johnny answered his friend. Rats with wings, all of them. I bet they're. A thump made her jump, and she turned to see Johnny had been hit in the head. By a seagull. She raised an eyebrow as Johnny scrambled away from the bird, but the rat with wings did nothing, it didn't move. Then another fell. And then another. Vivi watched in shock as 3 seagulls hit the deck with a thump, all of them unmoving. What the hell is going on around here? Yosaku demanded as he poked at the birds with his feet. It's an attack by the birds. Johnny insisted as he drew his blade. I'll kill them. They're already dead, you dolt, Marianne said. Walking up, the painter kicked the bird's side, making it roll over to reveal a bullet hole in its chest. Chopper ran forward and inspected the hole, murmuring to himself quietly as he did so. It's a bullet all right, the doctor confirmed. Judging from the angle, it came from ahead of us. But, Vivi said, looking over her shoulder, the island isn't even in view yet. That's a hell of a shot, then, Nijiko noted, crossing her arms. Land isn't even in sight yet. At least we know we're heading the right way, Luffy offered. That's good. I wonder who the sniper is, Usopp marveled as he watched the skyline. He must be a hell of a shot. I wonder how he did it. We can wonder another time, Nami said. Get in the crow's nest, Usopp, and let us know when you see land. Fine. The sniper moaned, walking towards the mast. As the crew went about their way, it wasn't long before Jaya came into view. From what Vivi could see, the island was a beautiful spring island shining in the sun. It had bungalows built over the water, and a high clock tower in town. From this distance, it seemed lovely. All right everyone, group up, Nijiko shouted. Everyone fell into line quickly, used to the quartermaster's shouting. We aren't here to cause any trouble, we're here to get information on Sky Islands and go. We mess up if we wait too long and the pose sets on us. But I'm making the call. If we don't get any information at all by tomorrow night, we wait for Jaya's log to set. I'm not interested in waiting here for the rest of my life looking for Cloudmen. I am, Luffy muttered. No, you aren't, Nami said, flicking his forehead. So, we'll be splitting into teams. One team heads into town, the other stays to guard the ship. Luffy, Zoro, Nami and I will head to town. Everyone else stay here and guard Mary until we get back. Sounds good to me, Usopp called. If we don't find anything, Nijiko continued, you'll probably know, because Luffy will pout like a baby when we come back. This made everyone laugh. We won't be long, but keep your eyes open. Who knows that we'll see when we get there. Nijiko should have known saying that would lead to Jaya being a circus. Once the Mary got close enough, she was made very aware of the sound of gunshots and fighting. The nice, resort-like atmosphere they'd seen from a distance had disappeared in an instant, replaced with a hellhole of vagrants and pirates. She regarded the disgusting masses from the deck of the Mary, wondering if they needed to dock somewhere else. It's a good thing we're leaving some fighters here, she noted as Nami joined her by the side of the ship. Seems there might be trouble. You think Sanji, Johnny and Yosaku can handle these guys? Nami asked. Probably, she answered, unless some extremely powerful pirates are here. But I hope there's some time to relax out here. I'd like to not almost die for a little. Where's the fun in that? Nami asked with a wink. Luffy, Zoro, let's get going. As the captain and first mate joined them, they lowered the gangplank and walked onto land. Nijiko took a moment to relish the solid ground beneath her feet, a welcome change from the sands of Alabasta and the rocking of the Mary. The spring climate of Jaya was a welcome change to the extremes they'd seen so far as well. It reminded her of home. Minus all the pirates. So, where do we start? Zoro asked. I'd say a bar would be our best bet, Nijiko replied. Pirates like to drink and talk. A lot of that goes on there. I do like drinking, Zoro agreed. Let's get going. The four walked from the docks into town, and the circus-like atmosphere only got worse from there. People were fighting, arguing, drinking, and everything in between all the way down the street. Nijiko regarded a drunk as he fell onto his face, before he threw up into the dirt. Talk about false advertising, Nami muttered from beside her. Let's just get the info we came for and get out, she replied. I don't want to get wrapped up in something here. The four of them continued walking through town, before they quickly happened upon something odd. As they rounded a corner, they got front row seats to a man dressed in all black falling off of his horse and coughing up blood. He looked pretty rough, and somehow his horse looked even worse. You alright, man? Luffy asked, prodding him with his foot. Ha! The man exhaled weakly, ha! Help me up. The four of them exchanged looks, but worked together to pick the man up anyway. They saddled him back on his horse, and he felt a rest to rest his head on the horse's neck. Thank you. Nijiko wondered how a guy so sick hadn't been robbed for everything he owned yet, because as far as she could tell it seemed it would have been easy. Here, for your trouble, have an apple. The man offered them a basket of apples, but Nijiko wasn't interested in eating anything from him. For all she knew, the apples had made him sick in the first place. So naturally Luffy ate a few. Don't just eat food from sick people, Nami snapped, slapping him on the back of the head, his rubber eyes comically bulging in his head. Oops, the captain replied with a smirk, my bad. An explosion rocked the town behind them, making everyone whirl in surprise. What happened? Someone shouted. They ate apples and exploded. Another voice called. Nijiko's stomach dropped, and she whirled back to aim her pistol at the man's head as Zoro drew his sword. What's your game, asshole? She demanded. Luffy spit it out, Nami shouted, shaking the captain by the shoulders. Luffy tried by coughing, but try as he might he didn't throw anything up. The sick man laughed. Fear not, he said, if he ate a bad one, he'd already be dead. You're an extraordinarily lucky young man. With this his sick horse carted him off, leaving the crew to themselves. They stared after him in shock, wondering what the hell was happening. Before they could do anything, a man came flying from a bell tower nearby, landing face down in the dirt. Who else will challenge the champion of Mocktown? A voice boomed from the tower. Anyone? This place is a mess, Nami hissed. Let's get what we came for and get out. The four quickly moved on from their strange encounters, swiftly finding a nearby bar and entering it. It was exactly the type of mess you'd expect it to be, what with pirates gambling and drinking and fighting all over. Maneuvering their way to the counter, nearly getting their heads taken, immediately ordered a cherry pie off the menu. We didn't come here to eat, Nijiko told him. We can get information and eat at the same time, Luffy replied with a cheeky grin. Shaking her head with a scoff at her captain's attitude, she leaned up against the counter and kept an eye on the other patrons. Last thing they needed was someone sneaking up on them and attacking while Luffy stuffed his face. Hey barkeep, Nami asked as Luffy was served. How long does it take a log to save here? About 4 days, the man replied as he cleaned a cup and filled it for Luffy. Nami hummed to herself. So we have that long to get information, huh? She muttered as Luffy stuffed his face. Hey, do you know anything about? Hey, old man, Luffy shouted. This cherry pie is disgusting, so good. Nijiko made a face and looked over her shoulder, looking for the man who'd spoken in unison with Luffy. He was seated next to the captain, a massive man in comparison. He was wearing a massive, open linen shirt and had a disgustingly hairy chest. He had a red bandana on his head, and more than a few missing teeth. So, essentially, he fit the bill for a pirate. She watched warily as Luffy exchanged annoyed glances with the man, clearly about to get into a row over the pie. At the same time, the pair drank from their cups. This tastes so good, bad, the pair said in unison again. Another annoyed glance was shared, and Nijiko rested a hand on her gun, ready to have to defend Luffy over food. She spared a thought to wonder how she was so used to this behavior already. Luffy, Nami said in a warning tone. The captain grimaced and turned away from the man, back to the barkeep. Old man, gimme 50 pieces of meat to go, he said. "Gimme 51 pies to go," the other pirate said. 52 pieces, Luffy said. 53 pies. "Are you trying to start something?" Luffy demanded, jumping to stand on the seat. "Are you?" the other man asked angrily. "Luffy," Name said, grabbing him by his shirt and yanking him off the chair. "We aren't carrying money for shopping, cut it out." Luffy seemed annoyed his measuring contest with the other pirate had been interrupted, but Nejico was glad they hadn't started a fight. A laugh rang out over the other voices in the bar. "A man like that is worth 30 million? A voice asked. Nejico followed it to a man with a woman sitting on his lap in the corner. He had silver-colored hair, matched by his feathery coat. His bare chest had an odd tattoo on it, one she hadn't seen before. It looked like a smiley face, but it had a line across it. The Navy must be a bunch of witless freaks. Luffy had taken notice of this man, looking annoyed at him. She knew that look. The captain was ready to throw punches. "Who the hell asked you?" he demanded. The man laughed. "My captain did," he replied. "The guy standing behind you." Nejico's eyes widened, and she turned to see the man in question. She'd expected it to be the fat pirate Luffy had been feuding with, but it wasn't. It was a tall, well-built, blonde man wearing what looked like a commander's jacket over his shoulders. He watched Luffy with the same look a predator would give its prey, his tongue hanging out of his mouth. "You're the Straw Hat?" the man asked in a low voice. Luffy regarded him with a raised eyebrow. "What if I am?" he asked. Nejico prepared herself, her fingers itching to draw a gun. Looks like they were going to get into a fight after all. Nami could tell a fight was about to start. She'd been in enough bars with pirates to tell it was going to go down. The stare down between Luffy and their mystery captain was intense, if only slightly undercut by Luffy's somewhat blank expression. "Who the hell are you?" Luffy asked. The blonde man raised an eyebrow, a maniacal expression on his face. "Who am I?" he asked. "It's common courtesy to know the names of big shots, kid," he replied. "Go easy on him, Bellamy," the man from before with the silver hair said. "Poor guy looks like he's got nothing going on behind the eyes." A snicker breezed through the bar at this. Nami balled her fists at the insult, no matter how true it was. "Barkeep," Bellamy barked as he stood next to Luffy, "give me your finest wine, and whatever for this guy." The bartender looked anxious, but nodded. He quickly returned with the 2 glasses, placing them down in front of the pair. "Well, you talk like a prick," Luffy noted as he took his glass, "but it seems you're a nice guy." He raised to his lips, ready to swig. Bellamy grabbed him by the back of the head and slammed him down into his glass, and then through the counter. Nami jumped up in surprise at the destruction, distancing herself on instinct. Nejico and Zoro acted differently. A blade pressed against Bellamy's neck while a gun pressed into his temple immediately. "Guys, you promised not to fight," Nami shouted. "We just got attacked, Nami." Zoro replied in a deadly tone, "That wasn't in the deal." Nejico's response was to click back the hammer of her revolver, narrowing her eyes at Bellamy. "Ah, the Whittle Boys guard dogs are angry," Bellamy exclaimed manically. "What are you gonna do, huh? Stab me, shoot me?" "Give me one more reason and I'll paint the wall behind you with viscera," Nejico replied. Luffy got to his feet and wiped blood from his cheek, turning to glare at Bellamy. Nami knew the look. Gone was his innocent blank expression, replaced with a predator sizing up its next meal. "Ease off him," Luffy stated. Both Zoro and Nejico's weapons retreated, obviously to give Luffy the leeway he needed. Bellamy cackled. "Are you ready to go, Straw Hat?" he demanded. "Show me what you've got." Nami grit her teeth. Once a fight started, she knew both Luffy and Zoro would wipe out anyone who looked at them funny. This was their last chance. "Barkeep," she shouted as the two stalked each other. "Does anyone around here know about the Sky Island?" The bar went so quiet you could have heard a pin drop. At first Nami was worried, then confused. Turning around, she saw the entire bar was staring at her now, a mix of confusion and curiosity on their faces. Before everyone present erupted in laughter. Nami stared blankly as the entire patronage of the bar roared with laughter, pointing at her and giggling like children. "Sky Island?" someone asked. "Did that dumb broad just ask about Sky Island?" "Holy shit, she's as dumb as her captain looks." Of all the laughs, Bellamy's was the loudest. He had nearly fallen backwards with laughter, grabbing at his stomach as it were to burst. Sky Island. He laughed. Oh, that's rich. Hey little lady. What backwater ghetto did you and your friends pop out of? No one believes in that bullshit. But Nami tried, gesturing to the log pose on her wrist. The log pose it pointing to the sky, so. Another round of laughter erupted from the bar. Nami could feel her entire face ignite in embarrassment. She's trusting the log pose, the silver-haired man roared as he slammed his fist onto the able next to him repeatedly. On the Grand Line, the one place in the world nothing makes complete sense. Are you really that naive? Bellamy asked. Sky Islands? Please. Those are legends, created by storytelling morons hundreds of years ago who blamed imaginary gods when it rained too hard. The mysteries of this sea are being solved day by day. Like the blast-off stream, for instance. Blast-off stream? Luffy asked. I'm not surprised a dumbass like you doesn't know, Bellamy spat. Sarquis, explain it real slow for the kid. If he looks at me like that any longer I'll punt him, the silver-haired man, whose name appeared to be Sarquis, snorted. It's a current around here that blasts high into the sky, he said. Whoever gets caught in it gets sent to God, and their ships eventually fall back down. Where do you think the legend started? Exactly, Bellamy said. Sky Islands, lost cities of gold, the Emerald City, the One Piece? It's all bullshit. Especially the One Piece. He laughed. Roger didn't find some glorious treasure. It was a final middle finger to the world government. A recruitment call for the whole world. Bellamy's expression darkened. It's fools like you that give pirates a bad name, he said. Morons too busy looking up and can't see what's right in front of them. Oh, he died doing what he loved. That's admirable. Ha, what a joke. Listen good, kiddies. The age of pirates who dream is over. A new age is coming where wimps like you won't be a part of it. Seeing people like you calling yourselves pirates, it makes me wince. Nami held in a gasp as Bellamy surged forward and punched Luffy square in the jaw, sending him back into the floor. As Luffy rolled over onto his back, a full mug of beer exploded next to his head. Get the bums out of here, someone called. It's making the booze taste bad. Sarquis giggled like a child. The people want a show, Bellamy, he called. We should give it to them. Bellamy grinned like a hyena. Gladly, he said, cracking his knuckles. In an instant the four of them were surrounded by thugs, presumably Bellamy's, all aiming to get a hit or two in. Alright, screw the promise, Nami hissed. Luffy, you have my full permission to beat the shit out of all these goons. Zoro and Nejico reached for their weapons at this. You don't have mine, Luffy said. Nami raised an eyebrow at him, watching as their captain looked over his shoulder at them. What? Nejico asked, confused. Luffy's expression remained stoic. Don't fight them, he said. The next 15 minutes could only be described as the most humiliating moment Nami had ever experienced. She stood by her sister, helpless, as Bellamy and his crew beat the crap out of Luffy and Zoro. Nejico had been spared the beating against her own will, because Sarquis said the only thing they both were good for was breaking beds with. So the two stood there, motionless, as the two strongest members of the crew were humiliated in front of the entirety of the bar. They were beaten, slashed, glasses thrown at them, everything short of outright lethal wounds. After what felt like an eternity the beating ended, Bellamy taking a step back to admire their work. Morons, he snorted. Too busy with your head in the clouds to see my fist hitting you. Do us all a favor. Go home and wrap it up before someone less kind takes you out back and treats you like a sick dog. Why not take their heads, Bellamy? Sarquis asked. Navy's been pretty generous lately. That's free millions right there, man. Bellamy exhaled loudly and chugged a mug of beer. And spit it in Luffy and Zoro's faces. Nah, he said as he wiped his mouth. I'm done dirtying my hands playing with trash. Hey pretty ladies, get your boy toys out of here before we kill him for real. Nami clenched her fists and considered lobbing an insult, but she could tell this wasn't the time. Both Luffy and Zoro needed to see Chopper now, so it was best they get out of here. She nudged her sister quietly and walked up to Luffy, regarding him quietly. Hey, not so fast, hot stuff, Sarquis called. How much to take you off your captain there? Following those morons will lead to an early grave. Come with us and really make a living. The idea of traveling with Sarquis and Bellamy made her stomach turn violently. They were exactly what she used to think all pirates were. Violent, sexist pigs who just took and gave nothing back to anyone. Neither of them saw her or Nijiko as people, just items. Hot pieces to BFF? She asked loudly. Be real. I'd rather keep my head in the clouds than wrestle in the mud with you. Nijiko let out a cold laugh. You couldn't afford us even if you found the city of gold, she said. Stick to the arm candy, boys. You can't handle us. Nami felt an inkling of pride that their words silenced the bar. She grabbed Luffy and put his arm around her neck to support him, Nijiko doing the same for Zoro. They left with what little dignity they had, the bar watching them go. Once they excited and walked forward a bit, Luffy coughed. Sorry about all that, girls, he said. Wish you hadn't had to see that. Don't be prideful now, dumbass, Nami hissed. You can afford to let me see you like this if you'll let a bar of morons treat you like dirt. Seriously, Nijiko muttered, you two could have won that battle easily. Who said they didn't? A voice asked. Nami turned, and sitting on the ground nearby them was the big man from earlier with his cherry pies. He gobbled one down in record time, grinning heartily. God, these are so good, he declared. What did you say? Nami asked him. The pirate grinned at her. Those guys in there gonna end up as the shrimp of the pirate world, he said. They lost that fight yet they threw all the punches. Do you know how a fight works, fatty? Nijiko asked in annoyance. The pirate laughed again, scratching his hairy gut. You two were impressive as well, lobbing insults like that. He took a massive swig of booze. The age of pirates who dream is over. What a joke. He slammed his jug of booze onto the ground. A man's dream never dies, he declared. Nami felt a shiver go down her spine. The man said it with such conviction and determination she believed him to his core. Who wants to wait for glory to come to them? The man demanded. Those who dream the biggest will always encounter times when fighting requires no punches. Nami's eyes drifted over to Luffy, who was watching the man silently. The pirate grinned, showing off all his missing teeth as he stood. Sorry, am I in your way? He asked. He took another swig from the jug as he walked past, laughing to himself. I'm curious to see how you'll all reach Sky Island. With this, he disappeared into the crowd. Nami watched quietly, unsure of what to say. Should we ask him about Sky Island? She asked. He seemed to know something. No, Luffy replied as he stood on his own. They're dangerous. Nami made a face at this. More boards. Big bro Usopp. Johnny called. Usopp grumbled irritably to himself as he slammed the nail into the last board he was working with. How many times do I have to say it? He demanded. I'm not a carpenter, why do I get stuck doing the repairs? 'Cause you're the only one who wants to do it, Chopper informed him blankly. Usopp mocked the reindeer quietly under his breath as he moved to the next hole on Mary's hull, grabbing one he boards Johnny had grabbed him. Now that they'd made it to civilization they could do some repairs, but they weren't exactly very good. He wasn't a carpenter or a shipwright. He was basically just duct taping holes. Why don't we go shopping for a new ship? Sanji asked from the balcony. It'd be easier than watching you try to repair Mary. We can't sell Mary, Usopp yelled, whirling on the cook. Don't you know where we got her? A beautiful lady from my hometown gave this to us. I'd rather die than sell the ship Kaya gave us. That's pretty romantic, big bro Usopp. Yosaku commented from nearby. Marianne sitting next to him. Is this Kaya your girlfriend? What? And no she isn't. She's just a friend. That's sad, Johnny remarked as he wiped sweat off his brow. Sounds like she really likes you if she gave you a whole ship. Usopp gulped. Do you think? He asked weakly. Kinda, Yosaku agreed. It's kind of an expensive gift. Well. I don't know. Enough you two, Vivi said, joining them from below deck. Any more and you'll fry poor Usopp's brain. Usopp was glad for the distraction. How's it looking below deck? He asked her. Not great, she answered as she crossed her arms. The damage isn't as bad, but it still needs repairing. Can't exactly keep sailing in such a dangerous place without fixing it. Usopp sighed at this, hanging his head. Maybe we need to prioritize a shipwright, he muttered. This is already annoying. As he continued hammering away, something caught his eye. Looking up, Usopp was greeted by the sight of their 4 comrades returning. 2 of them covered in blood. He spluttered as he got to his feet. Luffy, Zoro, what happened to you guys? His cries alerted the rest of the crew, who also looked over. "That's a lot of blood," Marianne noted. "Someone get a doctor," Chopper yelled in a panic. "You are the doctor," Yosaku told the reindeer as he grabbed him by his antlers, shaking him. "Doctor them." "You two better not have let a scratch get on the ladies," Sanji roared. As the four came aboard and Chopper began to look at their wounds. Usopp sighed. "I thought we agreed on no fighting." "They didn't fight," Nami replied, arms crossed. This made Usopp raise an eyebrow. "They just stood there and let those pirates beat the crap out of them." "What?" Vivi asked. "Why?" "No reason to fight him," Luffy replied as Chopper inspected a cut on his arm. "Besides, Nami did tell us not to fight." "You can fight back, you know," Nami yelled. Usopp noted her tone wasn't angry, more exasperated. Turning, he noted Nejico was standing by the railing, looking annoyed. "What's the matter?" he asked in her direction, her gaze narrowed in annoyance. "They didn't lay a hand on me," she said. "Good," Sanji cried. "I'd be horrified if they did." "That's not the point," Nejico shouted. "I threatened that pig Bellamy too. I threatened to paint the wall with his gray matter. Why was I forced to watch?" "You know why, sis," Nami replied with a frown. "They may have beat the shit out of these two, but they respected us less. We weren't pirates to them. Just fancy arm candy." Nejico's face scrunched in disgust. "Bellamy better hope I don't see him or his lapdog Sarkwiz ever again," she said in a low tone, "or I'll make sure he never cackles ever again." "On that," Nami said, "we are agreed." An uncomfortable silence came over the crew, punctuated only by Chopper bandaging wounds. "So no new information?" Yosaku asked. This earned him a dirty glance from the sisters. "Scrub the deck before I deck you," Nejico threatened. Yosaku already had experience in what happened when you defied one of the sisters, so he scrambled to his feet and went searching for a mop. "I see your own excursion went badly," another voice said. Turning, Usopp watched as Robin walked back on board, smiling faintly. "Where have you been?" Vivi asked her. "Buying clothes for myself," Robin answered as she lifted her shopping bags. "Figured I needed more than one outfit. Oh, I also happened across this." She walked to Nami and handed over a scrolled-up piece of paper to her. Nami unraveled in and made a face. "What is this?" she asked. "A map of this island," Robin replied. "We're at Mocktown on the west side. But look here, to the east." Robin pointed on the map. "I heard someone special from Jaya lives on the east coast. Man named Mont Blanc Cricket. From what I gathered, man can stop talking about his dreams. We could have some in common." Nami's face scrunched up even more at this information. "Is this really all the info we got?" she asked weakly. "Well, for Sky Island, sure," Robin replied as she reached for her bag. "But I also happened across some bounty posters. Seems more of us have gotten one." "Wait, what?" Usopp asked weakly. "Please say it isn't me, please." Robin just smiled innocently and handed the pile of posters to him. "Straw Hat, Monkey D. Luffy dead or alive 110 million berries. That's a massive increase," Luffy said, sounding joyous. "Pirate Hunter, Roronoa Zoro dead or alive 60 million berries. Seems extreme," Zoro noted, otherwise uninterested. Sword dead or alive 10 million berries. Huh. Sword of the Earth, Yosaku. Dead or alive 10 million berries. What did we do? Yosaku asked. Nami examined the fine print. Wanted for defeating bounty hunters at Whiskey Peak and being a known associate of pirate hunter Zoro and Straw Hat Luffy. "Aw come on," Johnny said, "not even for our own feats?" "Stop riding our coattails, you two," Zoro said with a smirk. Hawkshot, Nejico dead or alive 5 million berries. "They want you for the same reasons as these two," Nami said, gesturing to Johnny and Yosaku. Nejico looked annoyed. "Was Whiskey Peak really that big a deal?" she demanded. "Apparently," Nami said. The shots of the last three were all seemingly mid-battle, but Usopp had no idea where they had gotten those shots from. He was just happy his name hadn't been called yet. Just so long as that last poster wasn't his. Nami flipped the last one to the front, and her eyes widened. "What the hell?" she demanded. "What is this for?" "What?" Luffy asked. "Who is it?" The captain looked over her shoulder, and his eyes widened too. "Huh? What?" Sanji asked. "Who is it for?" "Shaky," Luffy grabbed the poster and flipped it around for the crew to see. Princess Nefertari Vivi only alive 80 million berries. Me? Vivi asked weakly. Why'd I have a bounty? Nami grabbed the poster back and examined it closely. Princess Vivi went missing from Alabasta shortly after the conflict with Crocodile. She read. She is presumed kidnapped. By the Straw Hat Pirates? Bounty is only payable upon safe return. What the hell is this? There's no way my father issued that, Vivi said to placate the navigator. He said I should go. Nami frowned and moaned angrily. Doesn't say anything about him issuing it, she said. Navy did this themselves. Luffy's bounty is bigger because of that. Zoro called as he waved it around. Says here the extra 10 mil was because they assume he's the kidnapper. I didn't kidnap Vivi, Luffy shouted, but I do appreciate the extra numbers, so I suppose it's fine. Fine? Nami asked him. Do you want the whole world after us to get this bounty from her? As opposed to the bounty on me or Zoro? Luffy asked her. Nami just grumbled under her breath at this, making him laugh and clap her on the back. Don't worry Nami, we'll be fine. I'm sorry if this causes trouble, Vivi said weakly. I didn't realize they'd try to cover up my disappearance as well. Don't worry about it, Luffy told her, just imagine it as a head start you get on everyone else. Speaking of which, Sanji said, we helped take Croc down, why didn't we get bounties? Because if they covered it up, there's no way to give you a bounty reasonably, Nijiko told him. Whiskey Peak is why we all got one. The fight against Croc and the number agents isn't mentioned. Not to mention the numbers on you, sea and earth over there are relatively low, Robin added. They didn't factor in Alabasta at all. Good, Usopp declared, I'm already on Luffy's poster, last thing I need is my own. Don't worry Usopp, Nami said as she clapped him on the shoulder, no one would ever be looking for you. Thank you Nami. Hey, wait a damn minute, enough talk, Luffy declared. Let's get going to Mount Black Crickets or whatever. Mont Blanc Cricket, Robin corrected. Right, that. Jaya turned out to not be that big of an island, only taking the Straw Hats around an hour to circle it to the east. As they sailed across the edge of the island, something soon came into view. It wasn't a village or house though. That ship looks a lot like that other guy's, Luffy noted as they got closer. The ship dead ahead of them had a similar monkey design to it, and was sailing right for them. It's different than Masira's, Vivi noted, maybe they're in the same alliance. What do we do? Usopp asked from the wheel, they're coming right at us. We haven't done anything wrong, Nami replied, and Masira was willing to talk, so let's see what happens. If it goes south I don't care. I want to watch someone get beat up now. That's the spirit Nami, Luffy told her. As the ship got closer, he flinched as a microphone buzzed to life. You there? A voice demanded. What do you think you're doing in my territory? I'll kill you all if we don't get a good explanation out of you. Talking seems to be going well, Zoro noted with a hand resting on his swords. Luffy was about to crack his knuckles when he remembered what Vivi told him earlier about talking. Hey, Vivi, he called. Talk to him for us. Huh? The princess asked. Why me? You were trained, he insisted. Come on, be our voice. Vivi looked a little anxious, but balled her fists and nodded. What should I say? She asked. Luffy whispered to her in a low tone, Vivi nodding along. Once he was done, she cleared her throat and stepped forward. We apologize for the intrusion into your territory, she called out. Do you by any chance know a Masira? Masira? The voice asked. Of course, we're brothers. How do you know him? We met him scavenging the open sea, Vivi replied. His ship was similar to yours, so I felt the need to ask. Did you harm him? No, as a matter of fact. We were very friendly to him. Masira even offered to help us fix our damaged ship. There was silence for a moment, and then the voice made itself known. It was another ape. At least, he looked like one. As opposed to Masira, who was bulkier and rougher. This one was wearing a green captain's coat that was much too small, and had ridiculously long hair. He also looked half asleep, but that made sense. He'd be tired carrying around all that hair as well. If you are friends of Masira, you are friends of mine, he said lazily. I am Shoju, the Sonar King. So, what are you doing in my waters? We wanted to speak to Mont Blanc Cricket, Vivi replied. We've heard he lives in these parts, and we had questions to ask him. Do you know him? Do I know him? Shoju demanded. Of course I do. Follow me, friends. I will escort you to Cricket. Shoju then walked away from them, and his ship began to veer away. Luffy chuckled as he clapped Vivi on the shoulder. Good job, he told her, you're a natural. That was easy. Vivi excused easily. I didn't have to try that hard to convince him. Don't be ridiculous, Luffy insisted. From now on, Vivi, you'll be our voice. That okay with you? Vivi smiled brightly and nodded. As long as I can help out, she said. Luffy nodded before turning to look over his shoulder. Stay on his tail, Usopp. Let's find Mount Cricket. Do you get people's names wrong on purpose, Luffy? Nami demanded. 50-50, he replied. Hot damn, that woman was scary, someone behind Bellamy said. She sounded like a demon straight out of hell. I know, someone agreed. Best we gave her the information about Cricket she wanted so she gets the hell out of here. I saw her break enough arms to know I don't want to cross her. What do you think she wants with him? He's just a weirdo. I heard he found a ton of gold recently. I imagine that has something to do with it. Bellamy smirked at this and turned in his seat. Oi, he called out, you too. What was that about gold?